Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share all the portraits I've done thus far for my 100-day projects. I set the intention to do mixed media portraits, and I'm also going to create a mixed media portrait and film it. I have been showing them on my shorts, but then I was asked a couple of questions and I thought, I'm just going to share some of the techniques so that you can apply it to your art as well. And you can use this for painting landscapes or still lifes or portraits or in your art journals. Like, there's no limit to how you can use these techniques. And it's not like I invented these techniques. It's just that I've learned them from somewhere and modified them to my tastes, or, I picked it up along the way. So this book over here, it's a sketchbook and it's a Fabriano sketchbook. And actually, I started this about, well, actually there's a date there, in 2022, and we were living in Italy. So it was a great learning opportunity for me. I lived in Vicenza, Italy, which was just like 40 minutes away by train from Venezia, and it was like about 25 minutes away by train from Verona. So you can imagine, I could just wake up in the morning and head over there. And this is actually in Verona, and I started off in this sketchbook doing this particular drawing slash painting, but then I switched to another art journal. So then I just had this free Fabriano sketchbook, and it's watercolor paper, really high quality. So I decided to just use it for my 100-day projects, which I started, I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. So this is the beginning of my 100-day projects, and I just wanted to kind of be in a state of playfulness and fun and use a limited palette. So I don't want to bring in a whole lot of the beautiful rich colors that I usually use, and I wanted to use like this over here is my handmade collage, but I also wanted to really layer, and so I'm using a lot of dictionary pages and tea bags, and honestly you guys, everything is like fair game. Like, it's just everything on the kitchen sink type of situation. I couldn't even tell you all the stuff I have on this page. I just used whatever I felt called to. So I think there's oil pastels, I think there's Caran d'Ache crayons, whatever. So I'm just gonna show you the portraits I've been doing. Oh, let's see here. And so I was asked about like what I did to create this background when I pinned it on my shorts, and it wasn't for this particular portrait, but it was for another one where I did the background like this. So basically all I did is I used my just regular ballpoint pen, and I think it's a roller ball pen, and it's not even waterproof. So I just ended up writing and journaling in the background, and then what I did is I loaded my brush with water and I used my chalk paint in Cashew, and I just made a really watered down kind of a paint, and I just brushed it over and probably applied like a few layers. I applied a layer, waited for it to dry, applied another layer, etc. And what that did is it gave it a lot of dimension. Like when you look at this, you can still tell that there is writing, but it's not so prominent that your eye is going to be drawn to it. So the background is interesting, but I don't want to like write text on here and have it compete with the portrait for attention. So I want to kind of have like some of the lines and marks of the text, but I want it to be kind of like all smudged up, if that makes any sense. And I really do like this portrait. It just is a very moody kind of a portrait. So for this one over here, I did something a little bit different. Is I put the dictionary page on here, and then I just used my Stabilo pencil, and I just drew the eyes on it. So I think it's like really interesting because it's a cool juxtaposition between all of the media that's on the page. Like I have, acrylic paints and inks and oil pastels and I mean, who knows what I have. And then I just have the dictionary page with graphite, and I just love it. And I put it for the eyes because, you know, instantly, like, you're just drawn to the eyes. So I really like this kind of like look. Again, I just have just a ton of media on here, like so many layers. So again, I did the same thing with the background. Like, I just wrote all this stuff, and then I added a little bit of dictionary page collage, and then I just, you know, loaded my brush with the ink and, you know, just kind of smushed it all. I did the same thing over here, except I also used some pencils to mark up the background. So basically, you guys, when it comes to backgrounds, what I learned and what I have come to see as like it works for me is that you want the background to be interesting, but you don't want it to overpower your subject. Like the negative space, which is the background, the job of the negative space is to shine the light on the positive space. So in this case, the positive space is my portraits. So you want the background to be interesting and to be beautiful and functional, but its main job is to, you know, make the positive space, which is the portraits, that has to be the focus. And that's its only job, really. And which doesn't mean to say that the negative space is not important. The negative space is extremely, extremely important, because if you don't have the negative space, you can't have the positive space. Now, over here, what I did is I did do a lot of writing, but it's in pencil, and I don't think it's distracting. It's in, you know, a very light, like just a very light hand. So I don't know if I'm gonna blur out some of the words. Like, I did put a wash of, I don't think it was my chalk paint. I think I used like a watercolor in a gray, and I just loaded a lot of water on it. So you do get a little bit of color, but I can still read the words, but I'm okay with it. Like, I don't think it's competing with the portrait. Now, this one over here was a bit of a struggle for me. I just worked it and worked it and worked it. And I remember at one point, I just got so frustrated, I covered the whole entire thing up. So there's also a ton of layers on this one as well. Now, I really enjoyed this one. And I think this was the one where I made a video, but I was actually talking about the book, Painting the Landscape of Your Soul. And I was kind of illustrating the follow your energy, you know, that whole like just go where the juice is. And I really do I just really ended up liking this, and I really love those circles. I enjoy this whole spread. And this one here, I used a lot of magenta, and I just watered it down, and I just put it like all over in the hair, and I really do enjoy this one as well. Now this one here, I don't like it at all. I might go back in and just kind of like cover up a lot of it. I don't know. I like parts of it, but then there are parts of it that I don't like. This is my handmade collage, and for some reason I just feel like it feels out of place in here, so I'm not really feeling it, but you know, we're learning as we go. And this one here, also a ton of layers, and I really do I ended up liking this one very much so. Now this one here is not even done. It's like a work in progress, but then as I was doing it, I was like, you know what? I really like it just the way it is. So I kind of left it, and you know, I'm fine with it. I might come in here later and kind of fiddle around with it, but I kind of like this kind of unfinished look. Now this one over here is not finished. I just also put a lot of layers on this, but I'm just building up some of the parts of the figure, and this is a good opportunity for me to kind of illustrate how me putting the dictionary pages serves so many purposes. The first one is it's creating layers, so that makes, you know, luscious depth and texture. It tells a story, all of those things. But another reason to add my dictionary pages is I can bring out the light parts that I want. So just say that, you know, I want to bring out this part of the nose, like the bridge of the nose. I added some collage. I'm gonna bring this up closer. I added some collage so that, you know, now I've just made this like a really light part of the face for values, and I can go back in and I can add another, you know, a wash of color, but I've already established my values. So, you know, not only does the collage serve the purpose of building up your page, but it's also like helping me with my values. And this is the page that I'm gonna work on right now. And what I have been doing for my portraits is I just go in and add a splash of color. Now, generally I tend to use either a really dark blue, an ultramarine, or I use a Payne's Gray, which is a black. Now you can use anything you have on hand. I use this calligraphy ink, and honestly, I think I bought this for my daughter when she was about 10 or 11 or something, and she was like all interested for a minute with calligraphy, and so I bought her calligraphy inks and all the stuff, and then, you know, she just was like, after a minute, she was like, oh, I don't want to do it. So it ended up in my studio. So just use what you have, you guys. I've used, you know, inks, or this is chalk paint, or just regular acrylic paints. And what I generally do is I just splash it onto the page. You can water it down and just let it dry naturally, and just, you know, leave it alone. Like, don't kind of I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sorry, I'm just saying what I do. So I don't like you know, I don't like try to kind of go, oh, I'm gonna put it down where the hair is going to be or whatever. I don't have any kind of idea. I'm just kind of randomly throwing it down on the page. And this is great for a few reasons. It's like I am playing with intuition and a looseness, and I'm like infusing the page with energy. I'm not like trying to make it tight and controlled. And like I could turn it around this way, and I could like paint my portrait, you know, this way, or I can turn it even this way. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. And that's the great thing about just putting the ink down and not really thinking about it. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn between making it this way or making it this way. Let me see here. I think I'm gonna do it this way, actually. I wasn't going to. I was gonna do it lengthwise, but I think I'm kind of feeling it like so. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just sketch in my figure here. And I might even paint two figures, I don't know. And there's kind of like such a sense of playfulness working this way. So not only does this dark ink, or it's ink in this case, but you know, your dark paint, your dark color, not only does it give you your dark, like your shadows, your values, but it's just infuses the page with so much interest and energy. Like, see this splash over here? That was like by accident, but you know, I like it on her neck over there, and I might let it show through. And I didn't plan that. So there's just a sense of like, just a playfulness, I guess. And I do use my heating tool, especially when I'm doing a time lapse, and I have done a few shorts where I've been using my time lapse, and you know, then I do use my heating tool. But when I'm just making my portraits, I don't use a heating tool. I mean, there are a few times when I have, so I mean, I'm not saying I 100% never use it, but I generally don't use it because I want the paints to dry naturally, especially the first few layers. As the painting goes on, you know, yeah, sure, I can use my heating tool. And you guys, I am so obsessed with these tea bags. I ran out of tea bags again, and I do drink a lot of tea, but I've been using them for everything, and I just love the texture that it gives me. So I ran out of tea bags again, unfortunately. So I think I'm going to use this for the dress here. So I'm really enjoying the 100-day project, you guys. But like I think I mentioned this in another video, I do not paint my portraits every day. Like sometimes I want to paint like 2 or 3 portraits a day, but then sometimes I just don't do it for a few days. And I kind of, that's just how I work in general, because you know, everybody's different, and it's important to know our strengths and weaknesses and how we work. And I think with me, it's like I work on something, I get obsessed with it, but then I also need like a break of a few days to kind of let everything percolate. And then if I had to do it every day, I don't think I would get as much out of it. And then I would be like it would be stressful for me, because I don't know, it's very hard for me to explain. I like to have the kind of like, oh, I'm not going to work on it today. You know, I like to have that kind of break, I guess. So what I'm gonna do here now, do you see how like there's so much of the blue, right? And it's great, I love it. But when I start painting the features of the face, I'm gonna need to bring in some lights, because I mean, I'm gonna have to have light areas of the face, like the bridge of the nose, the you know, the brow bone, etc., etc. So then I would probably be more intentional about my collage. And I just have so many layers of collage, you guys, on these portraits. It's kind of crazy. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I am going to just splash some of this ink here. And another thing, you guys, is that when you're splashing these colors, I have done a few where I've splashed a couple of colors, but generally I don't go for more than that. Like I usually only use 1 or 2 colors, because I don't want to muddy everything up. I don't want to get it too complicated with colors. And usually the colors that I use are like a blue or a Payne's gray for my really dark, like the darkest dark values. And then I might use a yellow, or even this burnt sienna. So other than that, I don't use a whole lot of colors, and I don't use too many colors. Now what I'm gonna do is I am going to just, like, I want some of those blues in there. And okay, you guys, I'm gonna leave this to dry just naturally, and then I will do a part 2. But like I said, you know, even if you're not doing the 100-day project, or even if you're not doing portraits, I think these are techniques that you can use for anything. Like I have used the splashing of the paint even when I've done still lifes, and I really absolutely love doing still lifes. So if anybody is interested in me doing a video on still lifes, let me know. I follow pretty much the same kind of like it's a similar technique to what I'm doing building up my faces, but obviously it's a still life. So just let me know, and I will do a video series on still lifes. Okay, you guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.